Show me.
What up, everybody? Martial Arts Film Freak here, and it has been quite some time since I've done just a solid ranking video, taking every single movie in a martial arts franchise and ranked them from top to bottom, from worst to best. And with the new Karate Kid Legends coming our way in just a few weeks, by the time you see this, probably like, in 4 or 5 days, why not go ahead and tackle the martial arts franchise that I have been avoiding for quite some time. You see, many years ago, when I was a very young teenager, probably even just like 11, maybe 12, I watched the first Karate Kid movie, and I thought this was just fine. I had zero desire to go back and watch the rest. After that, the only other one I watched was the remake, because Jackie Chan, why am I not going to watch that? Of course, I've seen Cobra Kai, and I love Cobra Kai. I love every character they bring in, new or old. I like seeing the flashbacks, even though I had no context for those flashbacks. So without further ado, let's jump into the franchise that I have only just now watched for the first time this month. Let's rank every film in the Karate Kid series. Number 5, The Next Karate Kid. I'll start this off by saying I don't hate this. I feel like since this movie came out, it's garnered this reputation, and let's say probably even had the reputation upon release, that it's awful. It's terrible. It's not good at all. But I'm here to tell you, it's not terrible. It's not awful. It's just not very good. The big redeeming quality of this movie for me was the relationship between Pat Morita's Miyagi and Hilary Swank's Julia. Julia's character is this young woman who her parents died when she was very young. Since then, she's only really had her grandfather who understood her, who got along with her, who even trained her in Miyagi-Do karate. We'll get more into that. But her grandmother never really knew her at all. So when her grandfather passes away, she's hopeless. She feels like the only person who understood her was gone, and now Mr. Miyagi steps in to, be a father figure in her life. And that really works in this movie. But the movie opens with Mr. Miyagi traveling across country, I think, to like Boston or somewhere. I could be wrong on that. And attending a funeral of an old friend. It turns out this is someone that he served alongside with in World War II, and who at one point had saved his life, and in return, Mr. Miyagi had trained him in Miyagi-Do karate, which is why Julia now knows some Miyagi-Do karate, because she was trained by her grandfather. And they just have this fantastic relationship. They really have wonderful chemistry, Pat Morita and Hilary Swank, where it's great to see them sort of, at odds with one another, or at least Hilary Swank at odds with Pat Morita, and her really warming up to him, and then him like really leaving his mark on her and forming this bond and becoming that father figure for her. It really works out really well. They have excellent chemistry, as I said. There's a wonderful moment where he's preparing her for like a dance, and he's like pretends he's teaching her karate, but then like grabs her hands and starts like leading her and teaching her to dance. It's a beautiful moment. And the highlight of the movie, their relationship, is a really bright spot in this film. It's just everything else that's not very good. The bullies in this are some of the worst bullies I've ever seen. One of them is a jump scare surprise Walton Goggins, who, thank God that man grew into his forehead, because he scared the hell out of me. And every other villain's been bad, just beating up people and all that stuff. But these villains are, let's say, quite rapey. I didn't like that at all. The boyfriend was not a great actor, but I kept staring at him because I'm like, who are you? I've seen your face 1,000 times and I don't know who you are. So I looked him up, and it turned out he was Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So that's how I knew him. I'd seen him get his neck snapped and die at least 50 times in my life, because I've seen that movie a lot. That was fun. That was fun to put that together and be like, oh, that's who you are. You were fake Johnny Cage.
He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
I didn't care for most of the training in this movie. At one point, her big sort of teaching moment isn't wax on, wax off. It is standing on a tall rock and jumping, doing a sidekick, and landing on a smaller rock. Didn't care for that. Didn't care for that. Didn't care for any of the martial arts, any of the fighting in this whatsoever. I appreciated how this wasn't like a tournament movie, and that we found a different reason for her to need to fight. And I liked her reason being, if I don't do this, I'm gonna like grow. I'm gonna go the rest of my life being afraid. I liked that. It's just once she started fighting, it was awful. I'm gonna give this 2.5 jump scare Walton Goggins out of 5. Number 4, The Karate Kid Part 2. The Karate Kid Part 2 brings us to Okinawa, where we discover more of the backstory of Miyagi-Do karate, his familial ties, his past friendships and relationships, and introduces us to a new love interest in Kumiko, as well as a new villain in Chozen. Despite the amount of new lore and new characters we get from this movie, nothing happens. It's kind of boring. It's just kind of them on vacation and Daniel falling for a new girl, which I like them. They have good chemistry. I like their relationship a lot. I would have enjoyed seeing her come into the third movie. But of course, just like all the women in the first one, she gets written out in the next one quick. And while they're just enjoying themselves, they're being bullied by the gangsters that are Miyagi's old friend and his students, which, I mean, I guess that's just the same plot as the first movie, but did not work so well in this one for me. I also disliked like all of the training, all of the karate in this. I thought was just bullshit and boring, especially like the main move. Like, you know, in the first movie we have wax on, wax off, and we have the crane kick. In this one, he learns some defensive technique, which is just kind of doing this, and I think it doesn't work at all. I think they know it doesn't work at all, because in the final fight when he does it, the camera is only from like shoulders up and we barely see it, and I think it's because they knew this is fucking dull. The one redeeming moment of this movie that actually really works is like at one point everyone survives like a tropical storm, and the whole tension there was peak. It was great. The character, the dynamics between everybody in that moment, the moment where Daniel leaves the safety of the hut everyone is in, the shelter, because he sees a little girl on a tower and he climbs the tower to save her. That was great. A wonderful moment in this movie. I think it works fantastically well and actually saved a lot of what this movie had going for it. Unfortunately, everything else was kind of just really boring. And then again, that final fight did not help at all. I would give Karate Kid Part 2 2.5 again Chozens out of 5. I like Chozen. He's great. But this movie, it is a rough one. Number 3, The Karate Kid Part 3. This movie made me hate Mr. Miyagi for a solid 45 minutes. Yes, this one picks up exactly where the last movie left off. We see Mr. Miyagi and Daniel leaving the airport, coming back from Okinawa. At the same time, we see Kreese going the opposite direction of them and leaving California to go on some trip that Terry Silver, our new villain of the series, has sent him on. Summer's over, time to go back to school, but that was not in the mind of Daniel LaRusso. No, he took his college money and he bought a building and promised Mr. Miyagi to be partners in opening a bonsai tree store. But it's pretty hard to open a bonsai tree store when you've got Terry Silver investing all of his time and money into criminals just constantly bothering you, harassing you, breaking your windows, destroying your store, and sometimes even just, you know, the occasional drop you off a cliff, you know what I mean? Everybody's been there. Yes, Terry Silver's goal is to get Daniel to sign up for next tournament to defend his championship, because if he can get him to defend his championship and get his champion to beat Daniel, then, you know, money and payments and justice for Kreese, even though Kreese was a bastard. But Daniel won't sign it because Mr. Miyagi doesn't want him to. Mr. Miyagi says, no, you're done. There's no reason for you to fight. Karate doesn't matter if it's all for trophies and money and tournaments and winnings and stuff. Karate matters because karate matters. And if you sign up for this next tournament, then you are spoiling that. The only reason I even helped you with the last tournament was because you needed help. You needed guidance and you needed, you know, to get away from the people who are ruining your life. But I'd say that his life is being ruined again, this time by the rich people, by a freaking billionaire dude, literally stopping him from opening a business and nearly dropping him off the side of a goddamn cliff. Mr. Miyagi makes me angry in this movie. I was fully on the side of Daniel. Yes, I get it. Karate is about karate, not about championships, not about trophies, not about money, whatever. I get it. But when a man is about to drop you off the side of a cliff, for God's sakes, Miyagi, train the boy. So Daniel, starts training with Silver, not knowing he's the bad guy, and starts to be driven a little bit mad until, he is just destroyed as a person, as was Silver's goal, to just destroy him. So, when he comes crawling back to Miyagi, Miyagi trains the boy. That part did really bother me. The whole thing of Mr. Miyagi declining to train him for this next tournament, not even wanting him to sign up for the tournament, I hated a majority of that stuff because it just was not working for me. However, it really started to work on the back half, the back 45 minutes, when they start working together, because that's when these movies are at their best, when Mr. Miyagi is just getting to be a mentor. That is the highlight of almost every single part of these movies. And what's done really well through all three movies, through the three movies that Daniel is in, is the slow burn of their relationship. The moment where Mr. Miyagi, I think, truly becomes a true father figure to Danny, because you can see it a bit in that first one. He teaches him how to drive or whatever. He gets him a car. I don't know if he teaches him how to drive. The trip they go on in the second one, all of that stuff. But up to this point, he's a mentor, kind of a light father figure, and very clearly very close friends. But the moment that solidifies it in this one is the moment where Daniel is losing that final fight, and he's lying on the ground, and Mr. Miyagi's trying to coach him, and Daniel just screams out,
I'm afraid of him, all right?
You stay focused. Then I show you best karate still inside you. Now time, let out.
That's the moment of confiding in his master, confiding in his friend, confiding in his father figure, and Mr. Miyagi getting him back up on his feet for this moment. And Pat Morita is just such a good actor, even just with his eyes, because you can see it the way he's looking at Daniel, the way he's rooting for Daniel. You see it in his face. It's so powerful. And that moment at the end when they finally, they win, he's the champion again, he saved himself, Mr. Miyagi saved him, and they have an embrace, and they actually hug it out. I don't think they've even hugged up until this point. In 3 straight movies, they've been hanging out for a whole summer and a half, a year almost. Pretty much a year. It's the next year's tournament. Yeah, it's a year. And that moment where they hug at the end, that's kind of what everything was leading up to. At that point, Mr. Miyagi is 100% the father figure in his life. That's what this whole series kind of has been leading up to, and it freaking works. Despite everything else that I disliked about this movie, the things that don't work, that works so well that I would give Karate Kid Part 3 jump scare John Kreeses out of 5. It was powerful. Number 2, The Karate Kid. 2010. The Karate Kid 2010 is just pretty much an exact remake of the original film. It came out at a time when this was extremely common. You had Red Dawn, you had Footloose, which is probably the worst of all of them, although I do say I hate Red Dawn a lot. The remake, the original, solid. The remake, oh god, it's bad. Nightmare on Elm Street remake, Friday the 13th, quasi remake. Then you had Land of the Lost and A-Team. I like the A-Team movie. And despite the opinion of many people, I would say, I like this movie. Pretty good. Does it have flaws? Yes. Is one of them that the movie is called Karate Kid when it's about Kung Fu? No. I don't mind that one bit. I will tell you straight from the mouth of the guy who is the martial arts film freak, the fan of all things Kung Fu, karate, Muay Thai, the punches, the kicks, the grips, and the graps. Does not bother me one bit that this movie is called Karate Kid and it's about Kung Fu. Could not give a damn. The major problem with this movie is there are times I do believe that it feels a tad bit soulless. It's missing something. It's missing something that makes this movie feel like it has a soul. But there are other times, just in the acting of the performance of our actors, I don't know if you can hear the thunder outside, that it just all works. Jaden Smith is giving a very good performance. Taraji P. Henson is solid, and Jackie Chan, this is probably the first time Jackie Chan proves to the Western world that he is a solid actor. He is very, very good. You see it a little bit in Drunken Master 2. You see it a lot in something like Crime Story. Or you see it way more in Heart of the Dragon with Sammo Hung. There is an incredibly, tense moment between him and Sammo where they are just both And this is the first time we really see that from Jackie in an American movie. Jackie Chan may have won his, or was awarded his, was he what, like an honorary Oscar? People probably think for like his dedication to stunt work in film. No, the man's also a damn good actor. And of course, my favorite thing about this movie is the depiction of all things Kung Fu. The martial world of China, I think, is beautiful. Is it probably some propaganda going on in this movie? Abso-frickin-lutely. Do I mind? Not really. My favorite thing about that is the contrast you see in the two different schools of teaching, the methods of teaching of Kung Fu in this. You of course go to the area, the school, the Wushu school, where you see hundreds of students lined up in rows and columns performing the exact same move, every single one of them. They look like a factory of Kung Fu. Then you go with Jackie and Jaden to what, you know, you could kind of look at as like the Wudong Mountains. I don't know if it's supposed to be Wudong. It feels like Wudong. Which is, you know, if you're a Kung Fu fan, yes. But just the method of everyone learning and like everyone's doing something different. It doesn't look factory made. It doesn't look manufactured. It doesn't look like a bunch of clones. It looks like everybody being unique in their own Kung Fu, which is a very important thing about Kung Fu cinema. If you look through the history of Kung Fu cinema, a lot of it comes down to just being unique in your own style, and that is what I think this movie does beautifully. What I don't think it does beautifully, where a lot of it falls apart, is that final tournament where things get quite rough. It's annoying that things get rough there because you can tell that a lot of these children either have been training Kung Fu for a long time, or at least have been training like Jaden Smith with Jackie for a very long time, for months leading up. Jaden is getting flexible as hell, knows his movements, knows his forms. He looks incredible doing his Kung Fu. Everybody in this movie looks incredible doing their Kung Fu, but if you get to that final tournament, it looks like ass. I don't know if it was the editor, the director, cinematographer, or what, but those fight scenes are chopped up to high hell, and this movie suffers for it. If they just would have looked a little bit clearer, this movie would be damn near 5 stars. Honestly, I was kind of loving this movie up until a lot of that final fight stuff started to happen, because it's so rough, it's so bad. It dropped the movie instantly for me. It dropped it to like a 3.5 jackets on the floor out of 5. Taraji P. Henson would be furious.
Pick up your jacket.
And number 1, the OG Karate Kid. I'm gonna say something that is the most millennial and Gen Z, even though I'm not a Gen Z thing I could possibly say. This movie is number 1 off of vibes alone. Yes, this is kind of the template. This is the kid getting bullied, needs to learn karate, save the day kind of thing. The relationship between Miyagi and Daniel, it starts here. It is great. I love Mr. Miyagi. I understand that's not Pat Morita's accent, but Pat Morita was cool with it. Pat Morita was cool with it all the way to the grave. I'm cool with it myself. It works. His character's fantastic. The dynamic between him and Danny is great. You have, of course, have Johnny and the Cobra Kais. It is a classic at this point. It's such a classic. It got a revival TV show that itself is amazing. It all just works. But what makes this so good is just straight up the vibe. The music, the clothes, the choreography, which is just awful. The training, which is not that great either. But it's just the entire 80s vibe. You know, I was born in 96. I did not experience that. But when I, as a film lover and someone who can appreciate a lot of old shit, my old favorite radio station used to be 94.3, which was all just classic rock, and they used to play a lot of 80s stuff. But when I think of, like, if you ask me, hey, Tristan, what's an 80s movie? The first 5 movies that come to mind are going to be Ferris Bueller's Breakfast Club, Back to the Future, The Karate Kid, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. This movie is 80s as shit, and it is just straight up the vibe. Something I never realized, watching this earlier this month on Blu-ray, I got the Steelbook, it's kind of fun, is a lot of the ending is kind of rushed. A lot of that final tournament, you don't savor any of it. This movie does not savor a single moment of that final tournament. A lot of the savor is for the training, the relationships, the moments like that. That's all nice and good. But you kind of want that satisfaction at the end. You want to build up. You want that suspense. You want to sit in it. This movie does not do that. Watching this for like the 3rd time in my life, that final tournament goes by fast. And you're thinking, that moment where he sits there with the crane kick, it's not very suspenseful. It happens in like 5 seconds. Probably less than that. It just kind of flew by, and when it happened, I was like, oh yeah, that was the crane kick, and the movie's over. Fun time. But this movie is just a classic that has held up and stood the test of time, inspired a fantastic spin-off show for a reason. Everything about this movie just worked. I give Karate Kid 4 broken radios out of 5. What a dick move. So there you have it, my ranking of every single film in the Karate Kid franchise from worst to best, best to worst, whichever way you decide to look at it. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below of the Karate Kid franchise. What is your ranking? Which one's your favorite? Which one's the worst? I'm pretty sure the worst for most people. Can you hear the rain outside? It's raining, or it's applause. Who knows? I'm pretty sure most people's worst is going to be either the next Karate Kid or the Jaden Smith one, because people are just bitter. But that Jaden Smith one kicks ass. It's good. Up until the final tournament. That's bad. But tell me those things in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Head over to Facebook, where there's the Martial Arts Film Freak Facebook page. Instagram, Martial Arts Film Freak. Tristan_Glover on Blue Sky. I keep forgetting about Blue Sky and not saying Twitter, because Twitter. And then Martial Arts Film Freak on Blue Sky as well. And Martial Arts Film Freak on TikTok. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go out there and endure the rain and the thunderstorms under this severe thunderstorm warning that I am under right now. And try to enjoy the rest of my evening and not drown. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.